the pitch-based effects are all like the auto-tune kind of things.
Yeah.
And where you auto-tune it so hard that it becomes
robotic.
Robotic sounding.
Was it Celine Dion was the one with the
Cher.
Cher, yeah.
Do you
Cher.
believe in God and love?
Cher's the one that made it popular, and then it's known as like the T-Pain sound.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Which
and
they were
T-Pain one-
using it as like they weren't. Yes, go on.
Yeah,
Ben,
they used it as real
bad.
pitch correction, but then there were some artists that they pushed it up a little bit, maybe because the artist messed up, or maybe because they wanted to sound like an effect. But there's one thing where you're actually like pushing it really hard to sound robotic, but then there's also this thing about the formant, which is the formant control is when it pitches up or down, it makes you actually sound like a larger or smaller person with a longer vocal cavity, which is going to change the harmonic structure of your voice or the timbre of your voice. And so they'll have that connected, so the formant changes, and that gets, I think the T-Pain effect is more having both the really hard auto-tuning plus the formant change to create that effect.
Yeah, definitely.
One more plug for like auto-tuning. It's not bad. Auto-tuning can save a lot of people time, it can save a lot of people money, and it can make things a lot easier on the artists. It's really easy to sit there. Sorry, I'm making a big plug for this because a lot of people are like, "Oh, auto-tune's evil." It's not, because think about these musicians who are possibly playing 4 to 6 shows, and like their vocals are dead. Like that's a lot of performance, like 2-hour sets for some of these like major performing and touring artists. And before people start getting all like, oh, autotune takes the skill out of it. Look, autotune can correct your pitch, but it can't correct musicianship. If you suck at things like style, it can't fix your style. You can't suddenly articulate a word better because of autotune. Yes, it simplifies things. It can allow people who might not have the best time. It can allow people who might not have the best things. Autotune is not bad. People need to get rid of that concept that it's bad. It can be bad, but so can any other effect used inappropriately.
Also, singing with autotune is actually pretty difficult. Like,
it is.
If you want a great example of how good T-Pain actually is, check out his interview on Ellen, because Ellen tried to sing with the autotune on, and Ellen, she can't sing, and so it doesn't sound good. But then when T-Pain does it, since he can actually sing and knows how to use autotune as an effect, it sounds incredible, and it's a really cool effect, especially live.
I did that to one of my vocalists one day. We were doing like a rehearsal, and I'm like, I'm just gonna slap the autotune on. She had in-ear monitors, and she was like, I hate this. This sounds horrible. Because, like, if you've ever tuned instruments and they're, like, really close in pitch, that's kind of like what you're doing. But it's a version of you. So it's really like an out-of-body experience, and it really throws off live performances.
If you hear both,
Yeah. That's why, like, if I do that, I only do it in the mains. I never do it in their ears, because that'll mess them up so bad. Anyways, but yeah.
I did one more thing on that, though. I did have this rapper that I would record, and he discovered the auto-tune. Like, he had me put it on for something, like to just record the chorus or something. And he was like, that's so cool. And so then he just started always doing with that. And they come in a group of like 3 or 4 rappers, and so he would go in there and he'd be like, put that auto-tune on. And I look back and the other rappers are like rolling their eyes like, he's at it again. Like, he's obsessed with the auto-tune. But he like always had to have it on, so it was hilarious. But yeah, it can become a crutch, but it's good and bad. And the other bad thing about it is now people have become like so used to hearing autotune that they think that that's what people actually sound like, And so I've even heard there's been circumstances where artists go on their social media and will sing something a cappella and then get knocked by all their fans because they didn't sound like the real recording, because they were just singing themselves and not being auto-tuned and fixed in the studio.